This is just a quick video to show you how to break down and analyze Shakespeare passages. We have talked about this some in the How to Read Shakespeare video, but we're going to start doing some hands-on analysis. And for in-person students, we're going to actually have pieces of paper that we can highlight and draw on and cross things out. But really, we can recreate that or we can imitate that digitally in most ways. So, here are the steps that I use when I'm breaking down Shakespeare. The first thing that you need to do is figure out the phrases of the speech. And keep in mind that doesn't always end when the line ends. So, the example that we're looking at is the speech. It's a monologue, a short monologue that Hamlet gives to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern when he first meets them, or I mean, he knows them, but when he first sees them in Act 2. And they are pestering him about what's wrong because that's what they've been summoned to do. And he sees through them. He knows that that's what's going on. But still they're his friends. And so he feels the need to talk to them. And so he says, I know why you're here, and so I'll just tell you, I know exactly what Claudius and Gertrude want to know. And he goes into this rather brief monologue about how he's been feeling lately. And so that's the speech that we're going to take a look at here as just an example of how to break down and analyze the passages. Step 1, separate the phrases. Step 2, translate the words that you don't understand or that you need to be more modernly phrased. Like you might know what the word itself means, but you don't understand its usage. And this is kind of where the hardest part comes in. That's not an easy thing to do. You really kind of have to struggle with the meaning there and exactly what he's trying to say. And I recommend that you cross out the Shakespearean phrase, which you can do if you're using like a Word document. There's like this cross out feature that you can use. And write the modern definition above it, or you might have to write it like out to the side. That's kind of what I'm going to do here. And then it also helps remember too that there are a lot of inverted sentences. And so you might want to put those in the right order. That helps you to read it. Even after you've done that, Shakespeare is very metaphorical. And so you have to identify those metaphors and figure out what they mean. And so if I'm using a pen and pencil, I like to just circle them or underline them. I've highlighted them here in yellow. That's easier to do on Microsoft Word. And then we'll be using this margin area out to the side to write down that meaning. Once you've got the little phrases paraphrased or translated, then read back through it from beginning of the phrase to the end of a phrase or to the end of a sentence. If you look at this passage in particular, there's a semicolon here in the 5th line, but there's not a period until like the 9th line. So that's a really long sentence, really. So if you read to like the semicolon and then paraphrase that out to the side, read to the period, paraphrase that out to the side, that's what number 4 is suggesting. And then once you've done that and you've got kind of your translated or paraphrased version of the speech over here, then think about the overarching themes of Hamlet. And in particular, you might think about some of the motifs that you've been assigned, or you might think about some of the other themes that we've already discussed. And what do you see going on in this speech and how does it contribute to either overarching themes, or you might even think like character development and plot. Like what is the plot significance of this speech? So let's just give it a try, and I will show you how I would go about analyzing and breaking down this particular monologue. So I've already separated the phrases with parentheses, or in the case of one long section down here, I do have smaller phrases in parentheses, but I've used brackets to show that this is actually all one idea, but I've separated it into pieces with parentheses. Now let's go about translating the words that we don't understand, or maybe putting inverted sentences in the right order. So Hamlet begins, I have of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth, foregone all custom of exercises. That's what I've set aside as the first phrase. I have of late. Let's just cross that out and say what he's really trying to say here is I have lately. And I'm going to use a different font color so that you can tell that that's my translation. I have lately, but wherefore I know not. If you look on your Shakespearean terms list, you will see that wherefore is really why. And we can also even rephrase this entire thing. I have lately, but I don't know why. So that's an inverted phrase we have here. But I don't know why. Lost all my mirth. Mirth means happiness or joy, maybe. I've lost all my joy. Foregone all custom of exercises. Foregone means either forgotten or quit. So, like, I have quit all custom of exercises. So the phrase custom of exercises here, what he's really saying is his customary habits or the things he used to do. And since he said he has given up all his joy, he's lost all his joy in the things he used to do, then I'm just going to change it to the things he used to enjoy. So what we have now is I have lately, but I don't know why, lost all my joy, quit all the things I used to enjoy. We'll make that I. That makes it more sense. So that's the first phrase. And indeed, it goes so heavily with my disposition. Let's call that a parentheses. It goes so heavily with my disposition. What he's saying here is this, or really it is kind of a big deal here. What is he saying there in terms of it? His sadness, his lack of joy. And we might say instead of goes so heavily, we still use the phrase weighs so heavily. And again, I'm going to say my lack of joy weighs so heavily with my disposition. Your disposition is your attitude or your feelings, your behavior. That this goodly frame the earth seems to me a sterile promontory. So goodly frame, this is a metaphor comparing the earth to a literally a good frame, but a good place, we'll just say. The earth seems to me a sterile promontory. That's a difficult one. If we were to pause and look up promontory, promontory means a place where you walk around. Yes, there is actually one word that means a place where you walk around. And so sterile means like empty or like really clean or bland place to walk around is what promontory means. The earth seems to me a really empty, bland place to walk around. And so then he says, this excellent canopy, which this is just another metaphor, which a canopy means what hangs over you. And so this is a metaphor for the air. Canopy is just a metaphor for air. And so I would probably draw like an arrow there if I could do that. I can probably figure out a way to, but it would take a minute. So the canopy is so it's a covering. Canopy means a covering. We'll just write that. This most excellent canopy, the air, look you, it's just talking to his audience. This brave, overhanging firmament, this majestical roof, fretted with golden fire. These are all just a series of metaphors um, for Earth as a ceiling, a top, so like the heavens, the majestical, because he says the roof, the firmament, and then of course you have fretted with golden fire, which would mean then the sun. All those things, he says, appeareth nothing to me but a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. So appear, this is another example or appearance of the seem. So it seems to me nothing but a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. So foul and pestilent, what we have here is foul means like rotten, and pestilent means plague-ridden. Congregation of vapors. A congregation means a gathering, and vapors just mean air. So what he's saying here, he's using really positive words, like he uses the word excellent, the word brave, the word majestical, the word golden for the fire. But then he goes through and says that even though he knows they are brave, excellent, majestical, golden, he knows that's what they're supposed to be. But then he says, but it seems to me nothing, which we can put that and we can fix that inverted sentence structure. It seems to me to be nothing but a rotten and plague-ridden gathering of air. So he's really here putting together he says, this earth that I know is supposed to be wonderful seems to me to just be rotten and plague-ridden air. And so now he gets to his conclusion here. And this is where he's got a series of phrases, but I've put them all in one big bracket. So he's saying, what a piece of work is a man. So he's saying, wow, what an amazing, strange thing is a man. He's like, how weird is it? What a piece of work. You are a real piece of work. It means like you're unique, you're strange, you're weird. And then he says, how noble in reason, how infinite, meaning infinite here means that there are many, many numerous faculties is another one that you may need. So infinite means endless, and faculties means abilities. So how noble in reason, men are able to reason. How endless are their abilities. In form, meaning in body, and moving, how express and admirable. Express just here simply means expressive. And admirable. In action, how like an angel. We have two very clear heavenly similes here. In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. Apprehension means ability to reason. To apprehend means to comprehend, and that's really what it means here. There are a couple of different definitions for the word apprehension, but here he is really saying in comprehension. And then he goes on. He says, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. A paragon means the best example. And so the animals here, he's saying mammals, he's saying humans are the best example of animals. And then he says, and yet, always note, circle, highlight, whatever you need to do, mark these transitions. And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust? A quintessence means the same thing as paragon. So he's saying, I know that man is the best example of animal, but to me, we feel like the best example of dust. And so dust is like uselessness, mortal, meaning not lasting, and beyond just useless, kind of worthless, temporary, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Well, couldn't spell that for a minute. And so that's really his main point to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern here. He says, this is like all I know that the world is excellent, brave, majestical, golden, but to me, it's just this quintessence of dust, this useless, not lasting, worthless, temporary being. And then he says, man delights not me. And so here's another example of that inverted sentence structure. Man does not make me happy. We'll change that to delight, meaning happiness. And then he sees that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are kind of smirking at him or smiling, and this interrupts his monologue here. So he has to turn to them and say, no, nor woman neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. As if they're saying, oh, well, men don't make him happy, but I bet women do. And so this is what kind of interrupts his speech and causes him to stop. All right. So now after you've put those phrases in the right order, identified the metaphors and all of that, then you'll go back through and paraphrase the main idea of each section in the margin. And this is kind of what I was talking you through as we went, the overall meaning of the speech. You can break it down into your own paraphrase over here or kind of at the bottom of it all. So I have lately, but I don't know why, lost all my joy and quit doing the things I used to enjoy. That would be my paraphrase off here to the side. My sadness, my lack of joy weighs so heavily upon my attitude that this good place, the earth, seems to me an empty, bland place to walk around. This most excellent covering, the air. Look you, this brave, overhanging firmament. Firmament means earth. This brave thing that overhangs the earth. This majestical roof for the earth. Fretted with golden fire, filled with the sun. It seems to me to be nothing but a rotten and plague-ridden gathering of air. Wow, what an amazing, strange thing is a man. How noble in reason, how endless in abilities, in form and moving, how expressive and admirable. In action, how like an angel. In comprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the best example of animals. Really here what he's saying is man is the beauty of the world. The best example of animals. And yet to me, what is this best example of useless, temporary dust? Man does not make me happy. No, nor woman neither. And that's kind of what ends it. So he's overall saying, I don't understand why these things that are beautiful no longer bring me joy. Overall, he is expressing his depression, he's expressing his sadness, and the fact that he himself does not understand why he's so sad. All right, so now that we've gone through all that, I hope that you will be able to do this same thing, and it should be just as messy and just as scratched on and colored on and scribbled on as this one, except maybe with a pen or pencil if you'd rather print it. Really, it's in this mess that you find meaning. So I really want you to make some messy meaning today out of these speeches. And in class or on the live lesson, each group of 2 or 3 is going to get one section of 10 to 12 lines to play with. So you can choose one. If you're able to work with a partner, then the 2 of you can work together on one. But what I'm wanting you to turn in is the mess that you make of one of these pieces, and where you have identified or translated and rearranged it to make something meaningful out of it using these 5 steps. And then take a picture of it or upload the file and turn it in to Kidem. Good luck.